This video is brought to you by Squarespace.
Parkour doesn't really have any official rules. But despite this, there is a kind of generally agreed upon code of conduct to doing parkour. No one sits you down and teaches you it on your first day, but you kind of pick it up over time. So in today's video, we're gonna go through the 10 unspoken rules of parkour. Rule number 1 is once is never. Now I believe this phrase was coined by Farang. They made a whole clothing line that was called Once is Never. Once is never means what it says. If you can only do a jump once, you haven't really got it on lock. It can sometimes be the case that you'll find a jump that's on the edge of your ability, maybe physically, but at least mentally. And you might go out on a session determined to do this jump. And so people see you attempting this jump and they want to see you get it. So they start motivating you and encouraging you. Next thing you know, you've got 30 people around you cheering you on to do this jump. And because of this atmosphere, you get yourself into this headspace and you just send it.
3, 2, 1, go!
And you make it. But if all those people weren't there, and on any other day, you wouldn't have done that jump. This isn't to say you should never train like that. We all do it and it's fine.
Yeah!
But the idea behind once is never is that as freerunners, we should be aiming to be able to do things consistently. So that should the time come when the zombie apocalypse happens, we'll be all ready to send massive roof gaps and survive. Next one is, if you're moving spot, bring your bag with you. This happens all the time. It's super common when you're out training, you'll be at one spot, but there's probably a little challenge around the corner, maybe a 30-second walk away. So you go over to that challenge thinking that you'll just spend 5 minutes and come back to the main spot. And like all of us freerunners who are very easily distracted, 5 minutes turns into half an hour. By which point, most of the people training at the other spot caught wind that you're at a different spot and they've come over to try the challenge with you. And what that leaves is one poor Peter sitting over at the main spot, having to watch everyone's bag. This one always cracks me up because in a freerunner's bag, there's probably like a few £1,000s worth of equipment. You probably have your camera, your phone, your wallet, and you've just left it a few hundred meters away from you in the center of a busy town. And I've just realized as I've said that, I've left my bag over there whilst walking away. So what ends up happening is that poor old Peter who's left with your bags is training alone at the main spot. He gets bored and then he wants to come and join everyone else. And so he's left to pick up everyone's bag. So you'll see this tiny kid with like 5 bags on him, looking like some kind of pack horse, with 5 tripods in one hand and like 3 bottles of water in the other. And then when he arrives at the spot that's literally 30 seconds away, everyone will thank him endlessly for being so kind to bring everyone's bag. All the while he's thinking, you could have just brought it with you. Next on this list is know when to walk away from a jump. We've all been there before where there's a jump that you're very close to get it. And you can feel it, it's within reach. And so you keep trying it and you keep trying it, but you just can't get there. You're bouncing off the jump every single time and you feel like the next one is it. You'll say the classic, just one more go, one more go.
Do one more attempt.
Which everyone knows really means I'm gonna keep doing this till I get it, or until I'm so exhausted I can't walk. Every freerunner has been in that situation, and it can be so tempting to just keep going and keep going, because surely you'll get it on the next one. But you gotta know when to walk away from a jump. If you've gone out to train and you've got hung up on one jump, and you've sent this thing like 30, 40 times, ask yourself a question. Am I still enjoying this session right now? Or am I just getting annoyed at myself? It's a fine line because I've spent ages getting a jump before and eventually got it, and I was really happy. But it's important to know when to walk away from a challenge. I've had it before where I've got so hung up on a jump that it's completely ruined a training session for me. And probably for the people around me. You end up keeping everyone at this spot watching you try this thing that you're probably not going to get, and you just bring down the vibe because you're probably shouting, you're getting angry at yourself, and you're just getting wound up, and everyone else just wants to move on to the next spot. Knowing when to walk away from a jump will not only save you friends in the long run, but it'll probably save your knees and your ankles as well.
Right ankle again, so it's probably quite a bit heavy to go again that.
Fair enough.
So sometimes it's better to just walk away and come back on a day when you're fresh. Before we go on, if you've been looking to build a website, maybe for your personal portfolio or a clothing brand you're thinking to start up, then look no further than Squarespace. If you're a little bit entrepreneurial like me, you'll know that there's a temptation to try and learn every single skill to make your business happen. But with Squarespace, you don't need to spend endless hours learning how to do web design. In the past, where I used to run a clothing brand, I would always opt for Squarespace. It just made sense. Not only did it make nice looking websites, but it had a ton of really useful features. Email marketing, appointment scheduling, and you could even get your domain through Squarespace. So make sure to head to squarespace.com to start your free trial.
And save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain using code JimmyTheGiant.
Anyway, back to the video. Next on this list is one I'm kind of guilty of, and that is learn to climb up. Now I feel a little bit hypocritical saying this because, to be honest, my climb ups are terrible. But you know what they say, do as I say and not what I do. Honestly though, climb ups are one of these things that are completely overlooked by a lot of beginners in parkour. And even people that have been training a long time. Climb ups are very hard. I would argue that the physical strength and technique to do a climb up potentially makes it one of the hardest technical moves to do, or at least do well. And it's kind of annoying because having a good climb up is very easily forgotten. It's not as flashy as doing like a double fall at an end of a line. And it's one of those moves that aren't really that fun to learn. It's not like doing a big running jump where it feels fun to do. Doing a climb up is just pulling yourself up a wall. And when you're learning to do it, they're really uncomfortable because you're putting all your forearms on, you're probably getting your shins on. You look really newbie. There's just not really much encouraging people to learn climb ups. So what this leads to is people like me who shy away from doing runs that need climb ups. And by doing that, you block off so many things you could be doing. Any fast ascent just looks terrible if you have a crap climb up. But as I say, I'm a massive hypocrite on this one. And because of that, I'm going to force myself to get better at climb ups. And if you guys want it, I'll make a whole video on climb ups. Next on this list is don't snake people. I don't know what the Americans call this, but we call it snaking. Snaking is essentially where there's a line of free runners ready to do a jump. And then you come along and just cut straight in front of that queue and go. No one likes snakes. It's just common decency. If you see a line of people, don't think what you're doing is more important than them and decide to cut in front of them. It's the sort of thing that you see happen a lot at big parkour jams. Because there's so many people there and sometimes some newbie might come along and think, I'm gonna just cut the line.
Hey, screw you, man.
And saying that, it isn't even just newbies. Sometimes people who are good think that what they're doing is more important than what everyone else is doing. Next on this list is, if you're gonna ask someone to film you, don't take the piss. Like look, I'm super happy you're about to do a side flip outside for the first time, but if you want me to film you doing it to post on your Instagram, don't take 30 minutes trying to do the jump. Like it's the worst thing when you're out training and someone says, oh, can you film me? And you're like, yeah, fine, why not? So you're filming them, no problem, happy days. And they run up to do the jump, they go for it, and they don't make it. It's fine, no problems. Have another go, I'll film the next one. They run again, they go to do the jump, and they don't make it again. Have another go, mate, it's fine. And they go again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. Next thing you know, 30 minutes has passed, your body is completely warmed down because you haven't done a jump in half an hour, and your day has gone from having a nice day training to becoming someone's cameraman. This is the sort of one that doesn't really apply if it's a group of close friends or like a parkour team, because there's the mutual understanding that you're probably working on a video or something like that. But if it's someone you don't know and you've just gone up to them, plopped your phone in their hands, and they're spending 20 minutes trying to figure out how to unlock your janky phone, whilst you slave away at a jump that you end up never getting. So if you ask someone to film you, do like 3 attempts, and if you don't get it in the 3 attempts, put your phone away, work on the jump until you've got it consistently, and then ask them to film you. Next on this list is don't act like a big man to security. What I mean by that is, look, when you do parkour, you get kicked off by security. It's part and parcel of doing a sport that is out of the ordinary and uses people's private property. So sometimes the security will come out and they'll be shouting at you and being unreasonable, and yeah, it's annoying. No one likes that. But there's nothing worse than when that one person in your group starts shouting back and trying to act like they're gonna start a fight with them. It's like you're not impressing anyone. And at the end of the day, it's their property, it's their right to tell you if you're allowed on it or not. So you end up spending 20 minutes in these pointless exchanges. They're never gonna lead to anything. The security man's not gonna turn to you and say, you know what, you make a fair point, feel free to train here. That's never gonna happen. At the end of the day, what we do is a fringe activity. And it helps if the people whose property you're doing it on don't hate us. So the best thing you can do is just be polite. Say sorry, wish them a nice day, and leave. You and them both know you'll be back next week. Next on this list is don't litter. There was an old expression, I think it came from rock climbing, which was leave no trace, which was clever because trace and tracer and you get it, it's very smart. But what leave no trace meant was just don't leave your litter. You might have just got yourself a nice Subway with a bunch of cookies, shoved it down your face in 5 minutes, and then went to the next spot. But with that, you've gone and left all your rubbish on the floor so that someone else can pick it up and put it in a bin. This one isn't really specific to parkour, this is just don't be a knobhead. It does reflect really badly on parkour if every time you go to a spot you leave a ton of litter there. Because although it might shock the person who does it, someone will have to pick that up. So just take your rubbish, put it in your bag, or find a bin. Simple. This next one is really important to me, and that is listen to your body and let your injuries heal. Parkour is a physically demanding sport, not just on your muscles, but specifically on your joints. And it's quite common over the years of doing parkour, especially if you got into it during adolescence and your body is growing and developing, for you to get some kind of joint injury. And I can't lie, there is nothing worse than having bad knees or bad ankles when you're doing a sport that involves having good knees and good ankles. The reason why I say this one is personal to me is because in the peak of me doing parkour, where I was at a reasonably good level, I sprained my ankle pretty badly. But I didn't listen to my body, and I didn't let my injury heal. I would literally go out training most days with a really bad sprained ankle, and I would just train on it. I would kid myself and say that I'm gonna work on some small things, but I'd end up just wanting to train at the level that I was usually training at. And my ankle has never forgiven me. Because of doing this, I now have a permanently weak ankle. Anything like a big stride onto my left ankle, I physically cannot do. And this is like 4 or 5 years on from when I first sprained it. And it's like, had I just listened to my body and taken half a year to stop training and rehab my ankle, I hate to say it, but I would probably be a much better athlete right now if I did that. There's this kind of false economy that exists amongst young freerunners. Say you got into parkour at like 14 years old. Around about age 17 or 18, you'll probably start getting quite good. You'll probably start progressing a lot and seeing yourself doing these things you thought you would never do. And that feeling can get super addictive. And you get lost in this kind of view of, I need to keep progressing. If I don't progress now, I'll never have time to. And at that age, you might be wanting to be a pro freerunner or something. But then what usually happens is, by the age of 20, you've got some long-term joint injury, and you have to slow down with your parkour training. You can't do the big things because your body literally can't do it. And so sadly, this leads to loads of freerunners quitting. Whereas had they listened to their body and given it time to heal, they could be training parkour for the rest of their lives. I mean, look at Dom Tomato. He's close to 30 now and is doing the biggest stuff in the world. So listen to your body and give yourself time to heal. Last on this list is don't be a fanboy. Now, in the parkour world, we kind of have this cool thing where the best freerunners in the world will train with anyone. It's not unlikely that you would see Stora at some big parkour jam, which I think everyone can agree is cool. It's nice that you can go and train with these world-class athletes, and there isn't that kind of thing of, I'm too good to train with you. But the problem here is that this leads to people fanboying over famous freerunners. Say you're new to the sport and you've gone to your very first big parkour jam, and you're there with your mates doing your little Kong precisions, having a great time. And then, in the distance, you see a man standing on a wall with a beam of light behind them. And on closer inspection, you realise it's Toby Sager. Then you look to the right and you see Joe Henderson. And you look to the left and you see Ed Scott. Every bone inside this young freerunner's body is vibrating with excitement. But you know, a couple minutes passes, they let themselves calm down. They turn to their friends and they say, I'm gonna go talk to Toby. I'm doing it, boys. And then he gets closer and his heart is beating.
Yo, Toby, I'm your biggest fan.
And right there, that would be absolutely fine. Everyone's happy. You know, Toby's received a nice compliment. Old Billy Boy has met his idol. But what tends to happen at this point is that little Billy Boy gets carried away and he starts talking and talking and talking. He's acting like he's one of the storiers. He's using all the inside jokes, referencing these obscure moments. Next thing you know, 40 minutes has passed and Toby's just had his ear chewed off by Billy Boy about some random plyo arm jump Toby did 5 years ago. Look, I'm not saying don't go and compliment your favourite freerunners. It's fine, do it. But just don't be weird about it.
It's the worst when you see a famous freerunner training at a jam and there's just like 20 fanboys staring at them, pointing a camera, filming anytime the freerunner moves a muscle.
They are at that jam to train and have fun. Just be mindful that they are humans too. If you think I've missed anything on this list, just drop a comment below. Like and subscribe to the channel. There's roughly a new video every Tuesday. The Parkour bucket list is out now, so you can support me by picking one of them up, donating to me on Patreon, or using the sponsored link below. Peace.